Welcome to this edition of the Native News Update. I'm your host for today's program, Paul Demain. Many of the stories and information found here can be also found at our website at indiancountrynews.com, where your online membership or donation helps support the development of this television station. Here's the news for the day from the Associated Press and other Native American news sources. News from Indian Country has received the word via email and other various friends, and the widow of Robert Eugene Rubadoux, Pilar Campo Rubadoux, of his passing on the evening of February 16th. According to the information received, Rubadoux suffered a seizure and hit his head when he fell while working in his painting studio at the American Indian Movement Museum he helped create with his wife in Barcelona, Spain. Rubadoux was a longtime member of the autonomous chapters of the American Indian Movement, and who, along with Dino Butler, was acquitted at trial in 1977 of shooting to death two FBI agents on the Pine Ridge Reservation on June 26, 1975. His cousin, Leonard Peltier, was later convicted of aiding and abetting on the same murder charges and was sentenced to 2 life terms in prison. Born on November 11, 1946 in Portland, Oregon, Rubadoux was a member of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe, an umbrella tribal enrollment organization that encompasses Ojibwe descendants who had an accumulative blood quantum of several tribes, including the White Earth Ojibwe of Minnesota and the Turtle Mountain Chippewa of North Dakota, of which Rubadoux was a descendant of both. We have also received the word of the passing of Rhonda Mitchell Frye on February 13th. Rhonda Frye was born December 30th, 1955, the daughter of the late Matthew and Juanita Mitchell of Indian Island, Maine. She graduated from the University of Maine, where she received 2 bachelor degrees, one in journalism and the other in history. For the past several years, she has been the Human Resources Coordinator for the Penobscot Nation at Indian Island and had previously worked as a producer for Channel 5, 11 o'clock news at WABI-TV in Bangor, Maine. During the 1970s, she served as a police officer for the Penobscot Nation. She was also a member of the Native American Journalists Association, where she pushed the organization to have its first meeting east of the Mississippi in 1996. Ms. Frye was instrumental in getting the offensive place name changes in Maine state law by asking the town of Stockton Springs to change offensive place names that were derogatory to Native American women. A massive Christian burial was celebrated for her on February 17th at St. Anne's Catholic Church on Indian Island, Maine. A co-owner of the St. Regis Indians Senior A lacrosse team is facing charges as the alleged co-ringleader of a massive marijuana smuggling operation in upper state New York. Randolph Randy Square, who managed the Akwesasne Warriors to a 2004 provincial title in the Ontario Provincial Lacrosse Championships, has been named as part of an alleged organized crime group that netted more than $100 million, a federal prosecutor said this week. Square, who was known in the lacrosse world for recruiting several high-profile players, was arrested at his home in Hogansburg, New York on the evening of February 9th after an 18-month investigation into the alleged drug activity. 10 people are currently facing charges related to the smuggling group that allegedly moved more than 50,000 pounds of pot through the St. Regis Mohawk Reservation and into the U.S., distributing it to several East Coast cities, including Brooklyn, Syracuse, Rochester, Queens, and Manhattan in New York State. The smuggling is alleged to have occurred over the last 6 years, beginning in the January of 2003. During the arrest, authorities seized an unknown amount of drugs, weapons, vehicles, and cash. Also charged are Walter Boz, Guy Gantz, Andrew Kagan, and Carmelio Ruz, Denise Cook, Slobodan Povizovic, and Merzim Kolinovich, and Kim Kiju. The economic slump is continuing to cut into business at Minnesota casinos. John McCarthy, executive director of the Minnesota Indian Gaming Association, estimates that casino visits and revenues are down between 3 to 5% since the slowdown started taking hold last fall. McCarthy says people aren't visiting as often and they aren't spending as much when they do. Operators of several Minnesota casinos told the Minneapolis Star-Tribune they've trimmed payrolls by letting vacant positions go unfilled. The tribe that runs Treasure Island Resort and Casino near Red Wing, Minnesota, says it has laid off a small number of people and marketing budgets have been cut as well. Many reservations rely on profits from the 17 casinos in Minnesota to help build schools and provide better housing, medical care, cultural activities, and other services to their community. This was posted by Brian Newland at indianpolicy.blogspot.com. President Obama has signed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009 into law, and the money should begin flowing soon, especially for a backlog of Indian country projects. The bill provides more than $500 billion in total spending, with another $288 billion in tax cuts. Tribal-specific appropriations came in at $2.5 billion, or about half of 1% of the total spending in the legislation. This money will have an enormous impact on Indian country as it is filling a bigger vacuum than exists in the rest of the country. The $415 million appropriated for Indian health care facilities construction should go a long way towards cutting into the Indian Health Service's 17-year-old $700 million plus backlog in facilities construction. Tribal governments and Indian-owned businesses will have access to more than just the $2.5 billion in tribal-specific appropriations. Tribes can take advantage of renewable energy bonds, COPS grants, and a host of other programs they're familiar with. Tribal leaders must be vigilant and aggressive in going after funding under other line items in the stimulus package. The competition is expected to be fierce for those funds. Tribal leaders must remind Congress that the stimulus package was supposed to provide funding in addition to that provided in the annual budget. There is still a need to complete the remaining $300 million in projects on the IHS facilities backlog, meet basic drinking water needs for many Western tribes, and fund the provision of health care for Indian health services that's been waiting in line as well. That URL again is ndnpolicy.blogspot.com. The Human Services Division of the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior Chippewa and several American Indian organizations at the University of Minnesota Duluth invite you to attend the premiere screening of Walking into the Unknown, a new documentary program that traces the intimate journey of a middle-aged male through the health care system as he gains a deeper understanding of himself and the health risks he faces. Walking into the Unknown, a 65-minute health documentary directed by Nathan Maydole and featuring Arn Veanio, MD, will premiere on Monday, March 23, 2009 at the University of Minnesota's Duluth Marshall Performing Arts Center at 7 p.m. The premiere is free and open to the public. The program is based on Dr. Arn Veanio's 49th and 50 years of life, a critical turning point in the lives of many Indian males, where it is important to become sincerely educated on health risks to be able to develop and practice healthier lifestyles. The documentary, shown through the patient's perspective, was created in an effort to further educate American Indian males on health care services and reduce resistance to necessary health screenings. Special attention is focused on 5 main topics, including diabetes, heart disease, stroke, suicide, and alcoholism. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank our underwriters for helping with this broadcast. Join us again real soon. Thank you.